As many of us know, the Osaka 5 of Japan are credited with popularizing Japanese raw selvage denim worldwide for public consumption, and they not only mirror the old vintage Levi's that a lot of us all know and love, that we base our Americana heritage on, and is quite literally the foundation of American style, but they also utilize Japanese excellence and precision to not only modernize them, but oftentimes take cues and inspiration from old vintage garments and manufacture them and sell them in ways that we've never even thought of before. And I've cycled through a couple of the Japanese Osaka 5 raw denim brands myself, namely Studio de Artisan and Full Count. And most recently, when I actually took my first trip ever to Japan, I picked up what I found was probably one of the most interesting raw selvage denim silhouettes that I had ever gotten my hands on, that I've ever had the pleasure of being able to purchase, and being able to experience this in Japan made it that much more special for me. But namely, today we're actually going to talk about Warehouse & Co. And the garment in question is in special collaboration with John Gluckow. And for those who don't know, John Gluckow is actually a veteran in the vintage dealing game. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe at one point he also worked with Ralph Lauren. And essentially this garment that we're going to look at today, I picked up in Hinoya's main shop right in the Ueno shopping district, which was an incredible experience considering that I've been shopping with Hinoya for so long. They treated me so well. They were so knowledgeable and passionate about the garments that they sell. And I told them I wanted something truly special to remember my first trip in Japan by. And one of the garments that they recommended to me was actually this jean that we're going to talk about today. So here we have the John Gluckow x Warehouse & Co. strong arm Netmakers jeans. And these are some of the softest jeans that I've ever felt in my life. I mean, they are quite akin to the Zimbabwean cotton softness that Full Count is known to use. And not just that, but these are made from an 8-ounce super lightweight denim. It's almost like a shirting weight, but it definitely feels like it still has a lot of durability to the fabric. But what really caught my eye mostly with these denim jeans was this super interesting silhouette, as well as the white stitching that contrasts so beautifully against the dark indigo denim, which I think gives this not just a heritage style look, but it also modernizes it a little bit, which again, I really am impressed by when it comes to Warehouse & Co. These are my first ever jeans from Warehouse & Co., which is one of the original Osaka 5 brands, which I believe was started in 1995 by Kenichi and Koji Shiotani, who are two brothers who really wanted to reproduce vintage Levi's almost exactly to how they were made back in the day. And they were dedicated to reproducing American heritage style and stemmed past denim to also create American heritage style knitwear, sportswear, all of the above. But what I really love about Warehouse & Co. is they also push the boundaries, which definitely shows by collaborating with John Gluckow, who is an American East Coast vintage dealer. He was born in New Jersey and eventually made his way to partnering with Warehouse & Co. to drop a collection of amazing garments like this, as well as some of his own designs and his own kind of spin on heritage style under his own John Gluckow label. And it's really amazing that Warehouse & Co. pushes the boundaries to collaborate with people like this, especially with an American designer such as John Gluckow, because you get beautiful garments such as this. And for those who don't know, when it comes to Japanese brands, oftentimes for outsiders, it's very difficult for us to break down that barrier, because at the end of the day, they want to protect their tradition, which is something that I respect. But I love that Warehouse went all the way through with this collaboration and made one of the most interesting raw selvage denim jeans that I've ever seen. So yeah guys, going into the details of the Warehouse & Co. John Gluckow Netmakers Raw Selvage Denim Jeans, this jean in and of itself is the result or the culmination of all of the subtle details that it has, and creates something that still feels heritage, that still feels easily everyday wearable, while just giving it a little bit of spin of flair. It's got a little something to it that just makes it so visually interesting. And this jean in specific from Hinoya is actually one washed. You can get the super duper raw version, I believe from Son of a Stag if I'm not mistaken, but I like the one wash version because it really brightens up the blues. It gives a little bit of fading at some of the seams, at some of the corners, and it also just really softens up and takes away all of the shrinkage. So this way I know the jeans are gonna fit the exact same way that they did the first time I tried them on in Japan. So yeah guys, you got some really hardcore interesting stitching on the pockets. You have this triple seam running down the front pockets, and it's also not really curved like you would see from a traditional 5 pocket. This is more of an offset side seam pocket. Granted, there are no side seams on this jean, which we're going to talk about later because it is something that's very interesting. But going back to the pocket detail at the bottom, you actually see that as opposed to the curvature that's usually prevalent on raw denim jeans, you have this squared stitching that is super secure. It's very tough, super durable, and is going to help with the longevity of the pockets themselves. And then you've got extra pockets on the front in kind of like an abstract placement, which are also very securely sewn down. And you see that instead of traditional bar tacks on the sides of these pockets, you have this very visually interesting kind of diagonal stitching, which again in that white really complements the dark nature of the indigo blue. You've also got a small one on the other side of the pant, and the fly construction, which again doesn't have that curvature at the bottom. It actually is a little bit more square. It's more at a right angle. It's also been given a really interesting stitching detail, which again, if you're wearing these with, let's say, like a tucked in t-shirt or a sweater or something like that, the culmination of all of these subtle details are really going to add to the entire composition, the entire look that you're going for. And it's going to add something really, really interesting and just make for a really fun outfit every time you wear these jeans. You've also got a gusset at the crotch, which is interesting. I've never really seen a gusset on the outside of pants. Usually a lot of brands tend to hide gussets, if they even have them, on the inside of the pants, but this is just a really interesting look, and I believe that this is going to help avoid crotch blowout, especially considering that this gusset is cut on the bias, so it gives a little stretch to it. And then moving up to the belt loops, you'll actually notice that the belt loops themselves, not only are they tucked into the waistband, which is something that I always look for, Warehouse & Co. and John Gluckow decided that on these jeans, they wanted to use only Selvage ID cuts for the belt loops, which is unheard of. And the fact that they decided to make it on the inside of the belt loops so only the wearer really ever knows that it's there is a true testament to their passion and their knowledge that they have of the denim community, how connected they are with us. They know exactly what we want. They know that not every denim head wants to show off all their selvage, but they want to know that the denim is selvage. They want to know that it's there. And it's just a really nice touch seeing that every single belt loop is treated with Selvage ID and is tucked into the waistband for maximum durability. And speaking of the Selvage ID, even on the inside of the jean, on the waistband, the entire waistband is covered in this gorgeous, almost orange or gold line-ish kind of Selvage ID, which I think, again, not only complements the dark indigo blue of the jeans, but it also gives it a really nice vintage feel and is a subtle nod to raw selvage denim head culture and Japanese clothing aficionados. Again, without being too showy, without it screaming this is a Japanese raw selvage denim jean, it's just a subtle nod to the wearer that lets you know this is a truly special piece. On the inside of the jean, these are super cleanly done. It's a beautiful construction. You also have the tag Warehouse & Co. Made in Japan, 100% cotton. I went with a size 34. I decided to size up because I wanted a little bit more of a baggier fit, which, speaking of the fit, is really interesting when it comes to these jeans because, like I was saying before, there's actually no outseam on this jean at all. And that's something that is super rare on pants. You almost never see that because it is incredibly annoying to make from a pattern making perspective. And it also gives a super straight fit, which not everybody is looking for because, believe it or not, most straight fits in jeans are still tapered slightly because truly straight fitted pants actually tend to flare out from the body as opposed to looking straight. So from the pattern making perspective, pretty much every single straight jean that's ever made in current modern times does have a slight taper. But for someone like me who really enjoys that kind of full wide leg look, that real straight, slightly flared type of silhouette, this jean works perfectly because not only is it interesting enough in and of itself to have a side seamless jean, but it gives it that really interesting modern look. And granted, while you do have a seam on the inside of the jean, which obviously you're gonna need, this also is sewn down with a Selvage ID treatment, but it is not exposed, which I've never seen before, because usually you will see two overlapping pieces of Selvage ID that is held together by just a simple straight seam. This is, believe it or not, held down with what appears to be a flat felled seam, yet they still somehow took the extra time and care to apply this Selvage treatment to the only seam that's holding these pant legs together. And they could have cut this from anything, from any scrap fabric that was left during the making of these jeans, but they went out of of their way to primarily use the selvage ID for the inseam, which again is the only seam that's holding these pant legs together. And I love the way that that looks. And again, that really just impresses me on Warehouse's part, because it shows that they're willing to push boundaries while still maintaining a touch or a nod to heritage. And then on the hem, you've also got this super thick chino kind of style hem. To me, this looks to be like 3/4 of an inch to about an inch of hem, with again that white stitching, which really brings a lot of interest to me. I think that's my favorite part of this jean. And speaking of the white stitching, it also gives a nice presence on the back pockets of the jean, especially considering that the branding on this jean is truly kept to a minimum, other than the strong arm logo on the waistband of the jean, which is going to be covered by the belt anyways, but that is a nod to John Gluckow, which these jeans were made in collaboration with. And other than that, the jean really just speaks for itself. I don't even know if you could call these a jean per se, because this really is something a lot more in my opinion. This is such a special piece, and I'm glad that I was able to pick up my first Warehouse & Co jeans at Hinoya in Japan. And again, for those who don't know, Hinoya is probably the biggest retailer that I've ever seen when it comes to Japanese heritage style goods. They supply virtually the entire world with the majority of Japanese menswear goods that are available, and they also have their own exclusive collaborations that they have with many brands, and they've just got really interesting pieces as well as in-store exclusives if you guys are able to make it to the Ueno shopping district in Japan, which was one of the best experiences that I've ever had when it comes to shopping. Probably the best experience that I've ever had, actually. And if you guys are taking a trip to Japan, if you're going to Tokyo, definitely try to make it out to Hinoya in the Ueno shopping district, because virtually that entire side of the block is lined with Hinoya stores. You've got Hinoya Plus, you've got Hinoya 1, you've got Hinoya, you've got Sun House, which is owned by Hinoya. And while I was over there, I actually met the owner of Hinoya, and he told me he's opening a completely new store on that block. I don't know when he's gonna open it, but Hinoya is really just taking over that entire block in the Ueno shopping district. It was one of the best experiences that I had in Japan. And not just that, but they're only a few blocks away from Ueno Koen, which is one of the biggest parks in Japan, and they have probably the largest collection of cherry blossom trees that I saw when I was there. Granted, those cherry blossoms are only in bloom for a couple of days if I'm not mistaken, but other than that, they've got so many other things going on in that park. It's a beautiful sight to see. Definitely check it out. And if you guys can't make it to Hinoya in Japan, you can always shop online. Check these jeans out as well as all of their other garments, everything else that they offer. And again, for my first pair of Warehouse & Co jeans, as well as my first garment ever from John Gluckow, I have to say, I'm in love with this garment. I'm gonna be wearing it so often this summer, especially because of how lightweight the fabric is. And I'm definitely gonna keep you guys updated on how it fades down, so stay tuned. And thank you guys so much for watching. I only need 2 more of the Osaka 5 brands to complete my collection of Japanese Osaka 5 denim. All I need to get is an Evisu pair and a denim pair, even though technically Warehouse owns denim, but we won't go there. But yeah guys, anyways, I've got so much exciting content coming out of Japan, and I really appreciate the love and support that y'all have been showing me the past couple of weeks. It's been so good to finally drop all of this content that I've been planning for over a year. So with that being said, from the bottom of my heart, thank you guys again, and I'll see you next week.